Hi, I'm Donna, an OpenSciEd teacher. In this video, we will be going over B4 Lesson 2. This lesson is the first of 3 lessons that cover the case studies that were introduced in Lesson 1 and help support students in figuring out what is that evidence for natural selection. In this video, we're going to see how we got here, the lesson at a glance, key moments, and material management tips and tricks. Starting with how we got here. All right, so during lesson 1, we figured out how urbanization has affected non-human populations that live in our own communities, our cities. We were introduced to the hawksbeard, the rats, and the juncos. In this lesson, we're wondering, why does the hawksbeard plant make fewer feathery seeds in cities? Let's see the lesson at a glance. All right, this is an investigation, so there is a hands-on lab in this lesson. It'll take 2 days, required material preparation, 20 minutes, printing off some handouts, as well as preparing for that lab, gathering materials. It is a hands-on investigation that does not require devices and has no additional related videos. When we see the lesson at a glance, there are 3 sense-making loops that we're going to go ahead and look in more detail at. So sense-making loop 1, we start with reviewing what we figured out about the hawksbeard plants from from lesson 1. We're going to discuss the seed dispersal strategies that the hawksbeard plant has and look at where the hawksbeard plant currently grows. We're going to figure out that the hawksbeard plants produce 2 types of seeds, feathery and non-feathery, and both seed types have advantages for different environments. In sense-making loop 2, which will cross between day 1 and day 2, we're going to introduce the seed dispersal investigation, and we're going to make a hypothesis about those different seed types. We're going to complete the investigation and then finish the day with an exit ticket. And then when we get back the next day, we're going to discuss those initial explanations on why fragmentation is causing this difference of seed types. We're going to figure out that fragmented soil plots in urban areas make it less likely that feathery seeds will land in a place with soil and nutrients, increasing the proportion of non-feathery seeds, which leads us to wonder what causes the plant to produce more of one seed type. We know that there is fragmentation that's involved, but what is that cause? And then in sense-making loop 3, which will be the end of day 2, we're going to compare our results to published studies to a common garden experiment. We're going to have a building understanding discussion about the effects of fragmentation, update our class consensus model, and then complete our progress tracker. We're going to figure out that the proportion of feathery and non-feathery seeds is inherited from the parent plant and is not produced by the environment. That's a big aha moment for my students. And this leads us wondering what else can be inherited and how are other species also affected by urban environments. So what we figure out through this entire lesson, that urban areas cause physical barriers and habitat fragmentation, that the hawksbeard plants have 2 modes of seed dispersal that are inherited or heritable, and that fragmentation is going to favor the seeds that are non-feathery, which over time is going to increase how many of non-feathery seeds are made compared to the feathery seeds in urban areas. All right, looking at those key moments that were identified in the previous sense-making loops. So after we get reintroduced to the hawksbeard plants, we're going to discuss the seed dispersal strategies and looking at the 2 different types of seeds that are produced, feathery and non-feathery. And here was a big challenge point for my students, that one plant can make 2 types of seeds, that it's not just that one hawksbeard plant makes a non-feathery seed and another one makes a feathery seed, but the plant itself is making both types of seeds. So I really emphasize that now with my students. We talk about how seeds are how plants reproduce and how those feathery seeds can get spread by the wind, how that might be an advantage in some environments and a disadvantage in urban environments. And we talk about the advantage of both seed types. In part 3, we're going to look at and analyze where hawksbeard grows. We're going to see 2 locations where the hawksbeard grows, a non-urban field and an urban street in France, really seeing that fragmentation and what does fragmentation mean. And we're going to add fragmentation to our personal glossary. We're going to see that fragmentation creates fewer places for seeds to land and grow, and that those feathery seeds, they could get stuck. In part 4, we're going to introduce the seed dispersal investigation, and the students will be making a hypothesis about what type of seed that we use in our investigation is going to increase in proportion. They're going to develop a hypothesis again about which ones are surviving, and they're going to see that fragmentation causes fewer feathery seeds to land on soil. In part 8, we're going to discuss those initial explanations. That over time, more of the hawksbeard would be non-feathery in the urban environment and less of them would be feathery. And really driving this initial discussion is what is causing that change. Quite a few of my students, after completing the investigation, when we have this first discussion, they start talking about buildings and the different sunlight that the plants are getting, and or noise or pollution, and then perhaps the environment of the city is physically causing the change in the seed type, instead of that the environment is making it more likely for some seeds to survive over others. Part 9, we're going to compare our results to published studies. So we're going to look at a common garden experiment. This is a really big moment for my students because the common garden experiment outlines that they collected feathery seeds from urban and non-urban environments. So the original seed that was collected was feathery, and then they grew it in the exact same environment. But then the plants are producing feathery and non-feathery seeds, which again, for my students was a big challenge point at the beginning of this lesson. The students are going to figure out that when feathery seeds are collected from plants in both locations, again, grown in a controlled environment, so we're taking out the possibility of changes of sunlight, of pollution, cars, buildings. So when these plants are grown in the same environment, they're going to produce both feathery and non-feathery seeds. And by looking at the Common Garden experiment, the students are going to see that the scientists' results supported our class results as well. That in an urban environment, the proportion or how many non-feathery seeds survive is greater than the feathery seeds. And we're going to add Common Garden experiment to our personal glossary. Part 10, we're going to be putting this all together with our building understanding discussion. And we're going to, at the end of this discussion, the students are going to figure out that the city environment is not causing the plant to produce different seed types, but is increasing the likelihood that one type survives over another. That non-feathery seeds are anatomically suited to survive and germinate in fragmented areas because parent plant is in soil. If it drops those non-feathery seeds exactly where the soil is, the plant has soil to grow. Versus those feathery seeds, they're going to go all over the place. And then as a class, we're going to co-construct selection pressure. So where do we go from here? We figured out that hawksbeard plants have a heritable trait for seed dispersal strategies, and fragmentation causes selection for non-feathery seeds. We wonder how scientists investigate the genetics of other populations as they change. Remember, in this lesson, the students figured out that the type of seed that a plant is producing is inherited. All right, material management tips and tricks. All right, I have a few of them for you with the lab. So if you're not able to have different stations, I run this lab as a demo very successfully with a lot of student participation. I'll ask for student volunteers to drop the feathers, to count the feathers. I find that if you're able to set up your towels and washcloths on a table, it usually makes it more accessible for students. Fan speed can be really tricky. I recommend, play around with that a little bit. Medium fan speed is what has worked really well for me. And my students love to add in obstacles. They will talk about, like, what if there was rain here, and maybe we'll make a washcloth wet just because we want to see what would happen. We'll put buildings in, water bottles, backpacks. We'll put obstacles in to really try to simulate that city environment more. All right, and then my last tip and trick is that the garden experiment can be a little challenging for students to read all the paragraphs together. Sometimes they can get the steps mixed up. Having the diagram available has really supported my students, and I will even add in to the bottom of the diagram what the results were. We'll talk about it as a class and put those results up on a whiteboard or a PowerPoint slideshow. All right, personal glossary management. So we're co-constructing adaptations, natural selection, and selection pressure, and we're encountering fragmentation, hypothesis, and common garden experiment. And poster management, which really just making sure that we've got that class consensus model ready to go. Well, with that, we have reached the end of lesson 2. Thank you so much for watching this video. The 2 takeaways I want to leave with you are that the feather experiment is a little chaotic, but it leads to a lot of aha moments, and that this is the first time a lot of students are introduced to the idea of selection pressure, and that's going to be fundamental for moving forward. Thank you, and you got this.